Hello, everybody, and welcome to Starting Small Music. I'm Justin McCormick, and you're about to hear a conversation with an artist, musician, and music industry professional on their journey and how they got to where they are today. At Starting Small, we like to take you on a journey uncovering the untold stories of your favorite songs and artists. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Just keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. Try not to be bitter, you gotta do it either way. Keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. So when life throws a jab, you gotta duck out of the way.
Artist Cam Becker with us. How you doing today, Cam?
I'm great. How you doing, man?
Doing real good. So,
Oh
getting right
man,
into your story, where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
sure, yeah. First of all, hit writer producer is a bit of a stretch. We'll get there one day, but yeah, no, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Started music when I've been playing piano and singing for as long as I can remember. Everyone in my family was super musical growing up, so I was like my dad is a high school choir director and church organist, and everyone on my mom's side of the family was a voice teacher, piano teacher of some sort, or played some sort of instrument. So um always grew up around it in more of like the music education world, in the more classical performance world. Never really got a whole lot of it's not like I grew up around studios or going to concerts all the time and stuff like that. But anyway, I've been playing piano and singing since I was really young. I started writing my own stuff, or at least like jamming little ideas and stuff when I was in like late elementary school, middle school. Um, I was in like community theater stuff and school theater stuff for a while, in like school band and choir and all that stuff. So I learned a lot growing up uh, that way. And then in the middle of high school, my buddies were in a band that would play shows and make music on their laptops, and put it out through DistroKid and just doing the thing independently. And they were in like high school, and I was like I was vaguely friends with them at the time. We would hang out every now and then, but I always was like, I want to. That's so cool to me, like, because I had come from the theater world, and doing a more contemporary like touring thing was cool to me. Anyway,
Right.
uh, long story short, ended up joining that band, and they taught me basically the basics of production and songwriting, and how to do it all, and or just at least showed me that it was possible to do it all on your own. Um, so that was really cool. And then I was in that band for uh, 5, 7 years, something like that, in Columbus, Ohio, while in college, and while working a couple part-time jobs. And I lived at home for a few years and worked with local artists. Like, basically just my friends would come over and we would record some stuff, and they'd pay me some cash um, for my service and all that stuff. But um, yeah, eventually, after so many years of playing shows with the band and recording artists in Columbus and stuff like that, I eventually made friends down here in Nashville through the grapevine. Eventually met Knox. That was about a year and a half or so ago. I met him in like February of 22. Um, and then we worked together a few times while I would take trips down here to write and record with my friends. Um, and eventually I met him and we worked, and the chemistry was there. One of those first sessions we did was ended up being I Don't Want to Know, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of snowballed. I went home, and a couple weeks later he gave me a call, was like, hey, I got all these other songs, like I'd love to come up to your place in Ohio for like a week and just hash them all out with you. And I was like, well, might as well. I was a huge fan of what he was doing, and it felt like the right move. So I just called off work for a week, and he and I just put our heads together and did the thing, man. And we made the whole How to Lose a Girl in 7 Songs EP more or less in a week. Obviously, we did the bulk of the work in a week, but we worked on it a lot more after, sort of perfecting things and finalizing things. But
Yeah.
anyway, that worked, and I got to know his friends and his industry people, and they provided me with a great um, network and foundation to come down here and do my thing with. So yeah, I eventually ended up moving in with Knox's attorney, Rachel Gutman, who's now mine, and she's also like my aunt now, I guess. Like, I love her so much. But she and her husband Nick, shout out them, they're the best people ever. They let me stay in their guest room for a couple months and use Nick's studio for sessions, and they would connect me with people and just allowed or gave me the guidance to figure out how to do my thing down here while not having to worry about scraping by to pay rent, you know? So
Right.
that was really nice for a couple months. And then I ended up getting my own place in November. And ever since, I've just been in sessions every day with, Knox and Braden Bales and a bunch of other phenomenal writers and producers and artists down here. So yeah, I guess that's the short version of the story. uh,
So when you were growing up, what was some of the first music you remember being played around the house that made you feel kind of your first connection to music?
oh wow. Well, my dad raised me on the rock band Rush. They were my first rock concert, my first concert ever when I was like 5 or 6 or something like that. And we also listened to a lot of like 80s pop, a lot of Motown type stuff, a lot of my mom liked a lot of early 2000s like adult alternative and like 90s grunge and pop, you know,
Like, yeah.
kind of everywhere. But I guess like my main two formative influences growing up, I'd say, were Rush and like Michael Jackson, which are kind of two like opposites. But Rush gave me like the prog rock, um I guess exposed me to that sort of neoclassical world of composition within rock, which I had never really thought, that was huge to me. And then obviously Michael Jackson is who he or what was who he was and did what he did, and it was incredible. But um anyway, yeah, a lot of everywhere from that end of the spectrum to the other end was kind of where I was at. But when my mom showed me, I guess not really showed me, but I ended up hearing Songs About Jane by Maroon 5, that whole album. I was
Yeah.
like, there's something was really cool about this. I was just hooked onto that when I was a kid. And so I guess those three are like my main influences, and everything kind of stems from there, at least from childhood, I suppose. But yeah, man.
Now, do you think your time like in musical theater in high school kind of gave you an early appreciation to like harmonies and stuff? Because like
Oh,
all your
for
production
sure.
is like soaked in just like crazy good harmonies.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because doing a lot of musical theater stuff growing up and choir, like learning. I sang tenor, so I was always kind of like a higher male harmony. And it just trains your ear to know how your part fits in with the bigger context of the whole thing. And like, yeah, it definitely trained my ear in harmonies and taught me a lot of theory too. Which, I'm not like cold calculating sheet music type stuff for everything I'm writing, but it definitely helps to know, like, okay, like if I want a big old harmony stack, I probably have to add a major third and a major fifth and have them, doing this type of stuff to create that sound that I'm after. But yeah, definitely theater and choir helped develop. Oh, and learning solfege, like do re mi fa sol la ti do and all
Mhm.
that stuff translates directly to Nashville numbers, like the chord system of like the 1 chord, 2 chord, three, because that's all it is 1 2 3 4 5,
Yeah.
do re mi fa sol, that whole stuff. Definitely translated to, because when I hear stuff that I like, I can sort of reverse engineer it and be like, oh, this is like, I really like the fact that they hit a seventh note there in the melody and that it interacted in this way with the chord change. And like, you can kind of learn to imitate your influences and get you to a result that you're happy with quicker if you know at least like some theory, you know?
Right. So you co-wrote and produced Chronically Cautious with Braden Bales, and
Yes.
kind of take me through the process of that day, who brought the idea in, and just the creative process behind it.
Yeah, dude, that was a really cool experience. So I had just gotten the week before this session, I was at a writing camp at a big house in Chattanooga, Tennessee with like 20 other guys. So I was like, I wouldn't say burnt out, but I was definitely like going. So I wasn't, I didn't think it was going to be a crazy session. Plus, like, so Rachel Gutman, who I mentioned earlier, who took me in for 3 months when I moved down here, she also discovered Braden Bales somehow on social media or something like that. Reached out to him because he's from Toronto, Canada.
Mhm.
We reached out to him, basically was like, I love what you do. Here's who I am. Here's what I've done. We can help you, come stay, So she gave him the same treatment she gave me, which was we'll get you down here, we'll get you a place to live for a couple months to get your footing, and then get you connected with people. And one of the first producers, I was one of the first producers that she connected him with, put me in a session with him. So I didn't know him at all before going into the day, but was happily surprised. Great guy, obviously. Well, not surprised, but anyway, yeah, I was with him, and I had one friend from the writing camp named Todd, who he lives in Utah, and he was just staying with me an extra couple days just because of flights from the camp. But anyway, he was sitting in on that session, and he made like one of the he made a whole pack of like Midwest emo guitar loops while we were at the camp that we were messing with because he's so good at that type of stuff. Um, and we whipped out one of them when Braden Bales was over. We also had my buddies Zach Smith and Chandler Eggleston. Zach is a frequent co-writer of Knox's, and he's got his own. Z Smith is his artist name. With him, and Chandler Eggleston is a brilliant guitarist. I basically grew up with him in Ohio. I've known him forever. He's the best I know. He plays he does he plays on Broadway in Nashville like every night. That's his main job.
Oh, wow.
Just a shredder. To love him. Anyway, so the whole team put our heads together and we did our thing, and I kind of was making the beat around that guitar loop and sort of chopping that up and flipping it, and while Braden and Zach and Todd were messing with lyrics and melodies, just tossing around ideas, me and Chandler were like building up the production. And at one point we had the kind of a dropout thing
Mhm.
happening for the chorus, and he just was like, Braden comes over after like an hour of like just trying to figure out what to start with. He was like, oh dude, I got it, and spat out the first two lines of the chorus right there, if I'm honest, like that just came out. And I was like, okay, let's just keep rolling with this, I guess. Like but the funny thing about that song and that day, hold on, are we still good?
Yeah,
My
we're good.
phone was tripping out for a second. Sorry about that. Anyway, the funny thing about that song and that day was that, I mean, I knew in the session that it was a good song. Like it was exciting, it was cool, it was a good experience, but to me, I had no way of anticipating the level that it would get to and the way the doors it would open for me. Because yeah, like I said, I knew it was a good song, but I didn't like feel like I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be crazy. Like to me, I was like, this is cool. Like I left at the end of the day, I was like, that was a good day, it was a good song. Like I didn't feel really much different from anything else.
Yeah.
And then he posted it, he teased it that night. We got about 80%, 80 to 90% of the song done that first day, I'd say. And he posted a tease of the chorus, and it took off on TikTok. And then a couple days later, he came back and we finished up the production and put it out. Or he kept teasing it. It kept getting some traction. And then Elise Myers reposted it, and that just kind of made it really blow up. Um, and yeah, it just kind of did its thing. And the whole time I'm like, what? I was like, it's weird when you're just making music all the time every day. You start to like lose the ability to tell what's gonna really work and what's not. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what is gonna work and what's not gonna work. I just know what I like, and I know what to chase after. Or I know that when I can pick up on the energy in the room that this is going well, keep going. Like I can just sort of um take it to the finish line there. But really, when it's day in day out, song after song, like a good song and a not good song, but you don't know which ones are gonna be like huge, you know.
Right.
But it was a great experience though, and I knew that it was gonna, it was a good song. It was a great day. It wasn't like gonna go nowhere, but I had no way of knowing.
Well, speaking of good songs, honestly, one of my favorite songs to come out this year, not the 1975 with Knox. Tell me about the
Yeah.
time he comes in and first plays you the demo for that song. Like, are you automatically super hyped? Like, yes, we're making this.
Oh yeah. Well, he had been sitting on because I remember back in like I think January of this year or something like that. He first was like, "Dude, I had this whole like." She said, "I like your confidence, but you're not the 1975 concept," and I'm trying to figure out like how to execute on it in the best way. And he was just, I remember he kept bringing it up in sessions for a while and or like a few weeks, and he kept playing it on piano as like a slow little ballad thing. And I was like, there's something here, but and it was just those first two lines for a while. And it was one of those ideas that he's like, I'm not going to use this yet, but I know that when we're in the right room, like with the right people, we can make it happen. I'm like, all right. Well, eventually he went to LA in the spring for a little bit to do some sessions, and apparently that idea came up in one with Jackson Foote, or Foot. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but wonderful writer producer. I look up to him a lot. But anyway, they worked on it more with him, and they got the whole chorus and some potential verses written. Um, and it was still on acoustic though. Like they didn't produce it out really or anything. Or no, I think they did, but we didn't end up sticking with that version. I don't know. Either way, by the time they brought it to me, which was a few weeks after he got back, um, they were like, "We like the top line, but we wanted to completely rework the energy of the instrumental." They threw out a couple references of like, "Shut Up and Dance" by Walk the Moon, "Hit Me with Your Best Shot." I forget the name of who the band that did that song, but it's from like the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, that type of stuff. I was like, all right, bet, let's go. And right away, I think we started with a dent, dent, that whole thing. And it kind of just came together on its own really fast. I was surprised within a couple hours we had um about 80-ish% of it there. Um and then we had to they came back, well, while I was working on the instrumental, they were tweaking the lyrics and melodies and like really perfecting things. But the chorus was pretty much how it was the whole time.
Well, now that you bring up
But
those two references, I definitely can hear.
yeah,
It's like definitely that vibe. That's so cool.
it's the tambourine clap with "Shut Up and Dance," and then the "Hit Me with Your Best Side." It's like it's different enough, but like you can definitely hear it.
Oh yeah, it's just
Um,
feel good music at the end of the day.
yeah, it's like it feels familiar. That was
Yeah,
kind
for
of the
sure.
whole idea of that instrumental, was nods to stuff that just feels new enough but familiar enough that you latch onto it right away because it's like nostalgic in a way. Like there's a lot of 80s rock mixed with like new hyper poppy elements. I don't know, there's something for everybody in that song. But
No,
yeah, that was a super fun and it was pretty quick too. Like they came back another day and we finished up the production, and that was pretty much it. Other than that, I came back like a few weeks later and did a mix and master on it. But um yeah, that was a pretty easy process of a song, and it came together really well. I'm super proud of it. So
now you
yeah.
also have your band, the Liberty Deep Band. You guys just put out a brand new single, "Everything Is Fine." Talk about
Oh
kind of
yeah.
that song, and when you're in the writing room, how do you differentiate like this song's going to be a pitch, or I want to keep this one for myself?
That's a great question. I'm working on trying to figure that part out. But 'cause, right now I'm just doing so much for other artists that have I haven't really been paying much attention to the solo endeavors or artist stuff as much lately. But um, I've been throwing around ideas here and there. I don't know. I kind of just go with my gut. Like lately, it's a lot of like I know that this could go to an artist where it would be put to probably better use.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I'm working on something and it just feels like I don't know, it's hard to really explain, but you just kind of go with your gut, I guess. But I'm also still trying to answer that question for myself. So I'll come back. I'll come back in a year and let you know how I feel about my answer to that has changed.
So, who are some producers that you feel have influenced you, whether by working with them or just through listening to their stuff through the years?
Oh. Um, Definitely quite a few. Oh man, I'm trying to pull. Definitely, this guy John Ryan. I haven't worked with him yet, but we'll get there hopefully one day. But he did a lot for like One Direction and Maroon 5. He's still killing it. He just did Sabrina Carpenter's album. He just did Niall Horan's album. He's fantastic. Jack Antonoff too. He just did 1975's last album.
Mhm.
And obviously everything he's involved into is brilliant. Um, there's a few other producers that I've worked with who are a lot more low key, I'd say. Like there's this guy Asher Postman who is also in Nashville. He's kind of an electro pop guy, but he's shown me a lot of really cool sound design things. Um, my buddy Johnny Townsend is also freakishly talented. I've worked with him on a lot of Zach Smith stuff and a lot of Knox stuff. Learned a lot of really cool stuff from him. I don't know. I just try to be as much of a sponge as possible because in Columbus, like there's a lot of really talented people there and a great music community, but there's definitely like it's just not. You come to Nashville or LA or New York and it's just different. Like you're a world class. Like
Yeah,
it's not just like really really good for a local artist. It's like this is where the hits are made. Like some of the best songwriters in the world are here, and some of the best producers in the world are here in LA. And um, when you come here to a place like this, it's humbling in the best way because and you always want to be surrounded by people who are better than you because that just makes you lift yourself up more and just try to reach their level. And obviously you're a product of your environment and the people you surround yourself with. So if everyone you surround yourself with is better than you, then you're only gonna get better too. So
for
plus
sure.
I've also it's been wonderful getting to work with people I've looked up to for so long and learning that they're wonderful humans as well. Uh, you know,
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I guess that's a long-winded answer to that question, but um, I don't know. It's always good to be a forever student.
for sure. Well, I like to close out my interviews by asking, what's a piece of advice you'd give to the fellow musicians out there, kind of aspiring to be in the place you're in?
Oh man. Keep your head down, get as good as you can, do you, do trust your gut. This is all I mean, it sounds really cliche, but don't be afraid to like don't be afraid to be yourself, I guess, and trust what the direction you want to take things. Um, and knowing what you want and sticking by it, or knowing, yeah, what you want and sticking by it in the face of other people's opinions is like the biggest skill you can have. Because it's so easy to not trust yourself and be like, is this choice the right choice? Um, the best thing you can do is learn your voice and learn your instincts by just doing. And also just make friends. Like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and Yeah, it's all about just working as hard as you can to get as good as you possibly can. Only compare yourself to who you were yesterday, and um, just be a good human and make friends, man. Just
Heck yeah.
enjoy the ride as much as you can. Put as much positive energy out there as you can because it'll come back.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and check out my music on all streaming platforms at Justin McCormick. See you guys next time.